Oh, I did say I'd come back after the Labor Cup. I just didn't say how much longer after the Labor Cup I would come back. But I'm here and I'm doing another video. And oh boy, it looks like Comicsgate is a mess. And being honest, I kind of saw that coming because it's hard to have a movement that doesn't have leadership because when everyone gets to define things their own way, like it's sort of like the Occupy Wall Street. You had people who, when they started it, they wanted to define things a certain way. And then everyone else came in, and as others came in, it started, to sort of like everyone decided they were going to decide how it was going to be, you know, themselves. And then the definition kind of got lost because nobody really knew what they were protesting about. Nobody really knew, what the actual platform was about. And even though, Comicsgate here, overall, it, kind of has never changed. It's the idea that, we the consumers are frustrated with, forced diversity. I talked about for myself the idea that, I'm supposed to like certain characters because because you're deigning to give me something that quote unquote looks like me, but has no depth to it. I find the whole thing ridiculous. And, it's now been a year since I've actually bought a mainstream comic, and that is, you know, that's something. It's kind of, or maybe close to a year, but you know, it's kind of sad because I enjoy comic books and, you know, looking at everything that's going on online, and I'm not even really online like that, but just seeing like screen captures of tweets and things like that, it's sort of like it just, it makes me glad that I'm committed to staying out of the drama. The only reason I'm kind of back and doing this is, I saw, EDS's announcement of doing all caps comics. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm happy for him to do that. And then, you start seeing a little bit more and you start, you know, looking at the arguments and things that are going on. And it's sort of like, you know, it's kind of crazy. But I get him. And, like I said, I'm not necessarily surprised because you're going to have those kind of conflicts when you have people who are more creative minded and creator minded coming into a platform like this and saying, hey, we hear you. So let's start giving you, products that you can buy as alternatives. And, you know, you have comic pros coming in, and of course they're going to, grow their platforms larger because they're pros in the industry. They're giving us a chance to interact with them. They're, giving us alternatives. And I guess it can be a little disconcerting for people who are just trying to look at like Marvel and DC and like some of the indie comics, and they're trying to say, well, it should just be about the consumer. But the thing is, it can't be about the consumer if there aren't any products. And when you have a lot of creators online telling you how much they hate you, wanting you to go away, wanting you to not buy their stuff, spewing such hateful vitriol, then what is the point of doing something like Comicsgate if all we're going to do is keep complaining about the same thing. Even saying, oh, well, DC brought back Vertigo and they put all their SJWs there. Well, they didn't put all their SJWs there. They just put, you know, a few. And let's not forget, they had DC's Young Animals. So you're still getting the same kind of content, and you're still getting the same kind of content in the mainstream ones as well. And so things are not changing the way that I think some want to believe that it is. And, it's sort of like, I guess, reaching this point of becoming this kind of like blame game. And kind of, that's kind of sad because it's like, you know, everyone should have a plan. Everyone should decide what they're going to do. Everyone should, you know, find a place within the movement, especially if it was going to be a movement. But, when we're arguing about things like gatekeeping, which let's just be honest, gatekeeping becomes a normal thing because once you begin putting structure to things, you have to then determine, you know, what is and is not acceptable. And once you begin determining what is and isn't acceptable, well, that becomes a form of gatekeeping, because people who cannot, abide by certain standards, you know, allowing them to just operate is crazy. And, you know, I don't I don't necessarily have a lot to say about this subject in particular, other than, it's something that I guess we all should have seen coming. And, you know, if there are those that are kind of like maybe upset or afraid, or, like you're looking at the reaction of the SJWs and they're all excited because they think that somehow we're all just going to go away. That isn't necessarily the truth. It is sort of like moving on to a second phase, because here's the thing: as options come about, as more products come about, as better quality products come about, the consumer has a choice. And, I think that's kind of like why it just seems crazy in a way, because you have people complaining saying that, well, it's no longer consumer centric. But, a movement that's just consumer centric, when you have no products, you know, then who's really gonna win in it? Other than the pocketbook, because you're not then gonna spend money. But that is kind of the thing. I I guess ultimately my thing about this is I don't get why so much drama has had to become a part of this, because it's sort of like, people keep saying it's not jealousy, people keep saying it's not frustration, but it's like the more you complain, the more you expect bigger names to do, the more we get to all of this, it kind of reaches the point to where you have to say, but then it probably is a bit of jealousy. Like, we're all trying to build our platforms. We may not all be trying to create things, but, we all are trying to do something in this movement. There's a reason that, we became part of this movement in the first place. And to lose sight of that because people just want to squabble is insane. It's, it makes literally no sense. And for me, it's sort of like looking at grown men do this and go through this. Like, that's not what it's supposed to be. Like, that's not what it's supposed to be about. That's not what any of this was supposed to be about. Natural growth. Like, we shouldn't be resisting growth. Like, we shouldn't be. And the fact that I'm seeing people, appear to resist it, it's like, then we'll never get anywhere. And the people that we're supposedly fighting against, well, then they will win. And then no one will be happy because the industry that we love, the hobby that we love, will just die. And we don't want that to happen, which means you have to grow. You have to change. You have to, kind of like ease into the places that it's going. And, you know, to a degree, you also have to kind of be a go getter as well. Like, we have to sort of like get ourselves up there and moving and motivated and, pursuing things. Because if we want change, then you really do have to be active and doing it. And so getting upset because people are now creating the kind of comics that they want to see, but isn't that kind of like what Stan Lee did? Isn't that what the guys who started Image did? Like, isn't that how, isn't that how revolutionary things happen? You know the kind of changes you want, and then you go for it. And I don't know. I don't like the whole drama thing. I think it is very unbecoming of adults. And, I'm kind of glad that I've stayed well far away from it, because like being on the periphery has definitely given me a much different view. And, it's sort of like in something like this, there really, like, it's sad that there has to be sides because there really should be no sides. It should, you know, there shouldn't be, but now there is. And, you know, I guess to a degree, it's sort of then time for everyone to kind of make, use of it, or sort of like, I don't know, decide where they want to be in it. And yeah, that's, kind of a crazy thing. But for me, I did, because I know I talked about I wanted to do a couple of reviews. I haven't had time because I've spent a whole lot of time, you know, trying to get my life together and whatnot. But I did get at least three of the projects that I had backed back. And I've read two of them so far. Like, I want to set a specific time to read Iron Sights, which I should also say I made a mistake the last time, which I knew I did after I had uploaded it. And the plan was always to do another video and, sort of like retract, because it was Ibal Canales who did the art in Iron Sights, not John Malin, who did for Jawbreakers. But I'm doing it now, even though it's months later. But I've not read Iron Sights yet. I'm going to. I know the SJWs are, trying to do their mean girl kind of tactics and be hateful individuals. But I did read Nasser's Stardust, and overall, I would say that I found it quite interesting, and I actually did like it. I'm not really a horror person, but it was pretty good. I did read The Bull because it was something that I had backed as well. I might have to read it again. I don't quite know how I feel about that, and that's just from a storytelling point of view, and that is something that I will try to get into when Thank you, computer. That's something I'll try to get into when I get down to putting together a full on schedule for all the things that I want to do, because I have added so much more to my plate. And that has kind of like, you know, I feel like I'm constantly having to prioritize, and that's okay, you know. So I am really making use of my schedules and things like that. So am going to re-add doing the videos and things like that. I have finally gotten both of my computers to work. So that's good. I can record wherever. I can't get my phone to act right because I have so many pictures of my niece and my nephews, and I'm not getting rid of those photos. So I'll see what I could do about that, because I wanted to use the phone at least for like the comic reviews, but I guess we'll have to see. Maybe I'll just get a stand for my iPad or something and do it that way. Anyway, that's it for me this video. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.